grief is an ugly, beautiful thing.
Isn't that something? And you're right. It's these two very seemingly different ideas, ugly and beautiful, that take up the same space. Again, if we didn't grieve, there would be something else horribly wrong with us.
Right.
And so embracing that part of ourselves and, like I say so many times, becoming friends with it and saying, in a way, this sounds weird, but Lord, thank you that I can grieve.
Right. Hi, I'm Caroline Howard, a biblical counselor and certified life breakthrough coach.
And I'm Chris Oneth, marriage and family therapist and executive director of Downey Park Counseling Associates.
Welcome to our next question, where we attempt to answer the questions of life through conversations in psychology and Christianity.
Remember, this is a place of discovery and definitely not the final answer. Are we doing this?
We're doing this. We're here. We're back. We don't know what
totally
we're doing.
Back. Yes.
I mean, sometimes we're well-prepared people. Sometimes we're people.
It depends. It's all relative, right?
It is.
Well-prepared compared to some, not well-prepared.
For the topic. We're just not prepared for
the
what
opener.
we do before the topic.
Okay. So there was some speculation as to talk about a favorite Olympic sport, and by the time of this airing, the Olympics were probably long gone. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about our favorite Olympic sport.
Well, see, here's a question that I had. I always thought it would be more fun if, like, the people who competed in the Olympics were just randomly selected citizens of each country. Kind of like Hunger Games sort of thing.
Oh, my word.
So then I'm like, if you were randomly selected, what Olympic sport would you want to be selected into?
I want to shoot things because I don't want to have impact. I don't want to be hit or punched. I want to punch and hit. I just don't want to be hit or punched. I don't want to drown in water. I don't want to. What's another? I can't. I don't want to run and have some sort of heart attack. So lots of
just
things.
Imagine if you got
impact.
chosen for like tandem diving or something. And it's like,
if I could do anything and had like no fears and wait, do you actually have the gift to do this thing?
No, you're just you, and you're with other random people from different countries.
I love this question.
Well, here's the thing: there are so many Olympic events that I don't even know exist.
You maybe have like a month to train.
I have a month to train.
To train.
They give you a month heads up.
Can I just carry the torch and that's
Honestly, it'd be better if they don't. They give you there's no prep. You just show up.
I love this.
And they assign you. And you're like, okay, guess I got to figure out.
You get a stipend.
How to throw a javelin.
You should get a stipend.
For what? Like to buy all new gear?
No, I'm just saying here's some money for your troubles.
Hey, you could win some gold.
Because you are, and if you do win, that's the incentive. You win gold, then you get like a good bag of money.
The gold medal is actually made out of gold.
No, I get it, but that's not the point. The point is,
some countries do pay their athletes if they win.
Yes, here's your gold medal. If you win the gold medal, if you get that gold medal, here's another big bag of money.
I mean, I automatically am going to golf because that's my new thing. But then, I'm like, I want a list of all of I want a list to be like. Because I know there's events I don't know about that I would be like, I could do that.
The events you know about.
Archery, I might hurt somebody.
I'm down for archery. I just can't see.
I'm not getting into the pool.
Use the force, Chris.
Shooting with the rifle?
That's what I said.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah. There was a guy who had the one-hander deal. He's like one hand.
I don't want to compete against you.
He's all over the place now.
Yeah.
I feel like if I compete against you, I'll lose.
This is old news. This is like by the time this is coming out, this is a month ago.
Oh my God, light years.
Throwing people back.
Weird news cycles that happen.
If I was gymnastics and I did somersaults on the floor,
it'd just be funny to see someone try and do Olympic level gymnastics who's never done gymnastics
They're not even
before.
going to be straight somersaults. They're going to be all.
Oh my gosh, I'd be on the parallel bar and rip my arm off.
See, I was just watching surfing. Was like the first Olympic sport I watched this year.
Until recently, it was in the
Olympics. It was so cool, and I'm like, man, it'd be kind of fun to like try surfing with no idea how to surf. I'd probably die, but no one else would know what they're doing either. So you're just.
I wouldn't mind doing judo.
Okay,
I could do okay at like. I think I do okay at that's again fighting quote unquote or competing against an average Joe like myself. I think I could do okay. But that's the thing. It'd probably randomly pick some, 10th degree black belt, and all of a sudden he's twisting me up like there's no tomorrow.
The dead man pool.
The dead man pool.
Yes, I just saw this Olympic event. They're in a swimming pool, and you are pulling the guy at the end with the rope who's just limp.
What?
That is an Olympic event?
There's no way.
No way.
I saw it, and I'm pretty sure it's called the Dead Man Pool.
I think that's maybe an exhibition sport.
I really thought I'll have to look.
How the heck?
That was just some guy who passed out while he was swimming.
So much. They
You
were
misunderstood.
all doing it. No, they were all doing it. Every lane was full.
I'm hearing Germany has an amazing theme on the Dead Man Pool.
The Dead Man Pool,
That's right.
but I'm the dead man.
Oh gosh.
Doing the pulling.
Jeez. Caleb is fact checking as we
I'm
speak.
not seeing anything coming up. I'm not
she's
like
inventing
doubting
stuff.
you, but
I don't know where maybe I dreamt it.
I always thought it would be fascinating to, like, with the track and field, to make it a little more exciting, to have like swinging sandbags while they run back, you know, and then one like wipes out Hungary, and oh my gosh, yes.
I was thinking like pools
But I love the
of
average
water
Joe.
with alligators under the hurdles.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, incentive. But yes, the average Joe or Jane Olympics, and
Oh my
well,
goodness.
but if you were chosen, it would have to be voluntary whether you said yes or no, because if they couldn't conscript you,
why not?
because that's like especially
But if
against
you
the
say-
Constitution of
if
the United
people can
States of
just
America.
say no, yeah, but this is international. This isn't an American.
Oh
thing.
my gosh! So you allow some other sovereign entity to
The
usurp the
Olympic Board.
American Constitution? Forget
Yeah,
about
it's
it.
the Hunger Games. Like I said, it's anarchy.
If you
I
don't
don't
go,
know.
your
Someone's gonna
family
die.
dies.
Someone's gonna die.
Oh my
Wait,
word!
do we-
That's why I think a monetary, like incentive.
Do we get the cardboard beds to sleep on in Olympic Village too?
Oh wow, the cardboard beds.
Have you not seen the
I
cardboard
heard about
beds?
that.
I don't believe you anymore because of this dead man thing.
No,
Yeah, I
it's
don't know what the
Throwing
dead man thing
random
was.
things out.
I'm
there.
gonna find it.
Someone
tried.
out there, reach out. Let us know if Caroline's
dead
right,
man
because I couldn't
Because
find
Caroline
anything.
completely lost her marbles. Maybe.
Okay, so today's topic.
I'm busy. You go ahead.
Oh wow, it is, which is crazy.
Just kidding.
Today's topic is a little heavy, based on our
I know.
opener.
So now we have to get serious.
So now we have to get serious. Today we're talking about what is grief. Okay,
I gotta-
well, Buzz Killington over here. Yes.
No, because I look up the dead man pool in Olympics, and all I get is how did Derek Redmond tear his hamstring?
Oh, well, maybe he did it doing the dead man pull.
I don't know.
Well, okay, to the topic at hand.
I know, but see now I'm like, did I dream that? Where did I
Yeah.
figure this out?
Yeah.
Now I'm tripping.
Yeah, okay.
Which you're all like, you've been tripping for a while. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
serious. We're going to grief.
Going to grief.
Good grief. Good
So
grief, bad grief, all the grief.
lots of angles when it comes to grief. I
Yeah.
mean, grief obviously is a human condition.
Mm-hmm.
It entails several emotions,
Yep.
several thought processes. There are
Stages.
components of grief,
Yeah.
feelings, physical sensations because
Mm-hmm.
it's somatic. Also, cognitions are our mental process, and what we do are behaviors.
Yeah.
It has deep meaning for us, and that fuels some of the grief we have. And that's, again, a cognitive process. So there's lots to unpack here.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to grieve, or do you think we can shove it down and not deal with it?
Oh, by all means, shove it down, and nothing bad will happen ever.
It's always good to shove down emotions. and
You knew
feelings.
the answer to that question.
I just wanted to see how snarky you could answer it.
Okay, then. Yes,
Really what it
absolutely.
was.
We need to give grief its time.
Yeah.
Just like, at times we need to give joy its time, or fun its time, right? So
Yeah.
grief is a absolutely necessary component in our lives.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed is people do like to run from grief. They don't
Yeah.
want to process it.
Yeah.
And
What have you noticed is why? Don't process it because. They don't process it because.
well, I almost feel like, gosh, you can almost get into the 5 stages here of why you don't want
That's
to process
not a feeling,
it.
that's a thought.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to kick your butt.
Punch me in the head.
I feel that people don't want to process it because they don't want to feel those feelings.
Okay.
I mean, grief is heavy
Yes.
with, I don't want to call them negative feelings, but with uncomfortable,
Difficult. Sure.
difficult feelings.
I mean, what's the alternative? If you don't feel those feelings, you're some sort of sociopath.
Well, I don't want to call people sociopaths, but yes.
Sociopath.
Yes-ish.
With several S's.
So I consider myself a professional at grieving.
Oh, do tell.
Because I've had to do it so much. And this is, people who've gone through a lot of things in their lives have to grieve a lot. And
sure.
And so this, I think, is where it's like, I'm tired of grieving. I don't want to grieve anymore. I'm not going to grieve this. And so like one thing that I have learned going through grief so many times in so many different ways is that the more you go through it, the better you get at going through it.
Okay. So that has me thinking about, can we over-identify with grief? Like have that knit to our identity to where we're kind of stuck in that perpetual state of grief?
I think you could. I don't feel like I've ever seen someone do that, but I've not seen every person in the human race.
It's true that I think I've seen it.
Okay.
I've seen where
so
people
speak
get
to that.
stuck in their, what's that?
Speak to that. Cause like I've said, I've never seen that.
So, this goes back to, the different stages of grief.
Yeah. Which we're going to get into.
And so there is, and by the way, not the stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Yeah. And it's not like you park on one stage and then you work through that, then you move on to the next one. You can go back and forth.
Yep.
And so there's a time where potentially the acceptance is never reached, and the mind is still trying to solve the equation, trying to solve the problem.
Okay, that makes sense.
However, it's wanting to solve the problem on its terms, not the circumstances' terms. So for example, like I lost my mother in 2021, right? Now I could still, get up every morning and just, weep bitterly that she's gone.
Yeah.
And in that case, I may not have come to terms with, okay, she's gone now, and she is with the Lord, and she is in a softer and happier and blessed place.
Right.
And so if I am totally focused on, but I don't have her, I've been robbed, that's part of the cognitive process that could keep me stuck in that perpetual state. And then I over-identify with, then it starts becoming the center of my world. Like people meet me and, I lost my mom in 21. And that's like the central focus instead of, I have all these other blessings that I live. So anyway.
No, that's true. Because I always like when I think of the stages of grief, like you said, like, it's not, we don't list the stages and say it has to go in that order.
Right.
Yes. Acceptance always comes last. That one is.
that one.
That one's a gimme. But like, and there's no time frame for each of the stages either.
Good point.
You could be in some stages longer than others.
That is true.
The whole goal is that you're moving forward. Sometimes you might be moving forward at a snail's pace. Sometimes you might be moving forward at a faster animal than the snail.
Well, and moving forward may be like being aware of your own cognitive processes while that's happening. That could be, prolonging this hurt and everything else. And okay, so that adds another layer that potentially, if you haven't grieved other things in your life properly, then one thing becomes the huge marquee. And that almost takes on the weight of all the other things you haven't grieved.
Right. And so in that because I feel like I come across that a lot. And so this new thing here to grieve, it feels so big.
Yes.
To then, which I would tell a client, like, you need to make grief piles.
Oh, okay.
And so with that, we go through, what are the things you need to grieve?
I love it.
So let's pile them up. What are the emotions that come with this thing? Put them in that pile. What are the emotions that come with this thing? Put it in that pile. And then we take one pile at a time because you can't grieve.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot. Honestly, I see this a lot with people going through divorce. Because people going through divorce don't realize how many different things they have to grieve.
Oh my gosh.
You're grieving the loss of the marriage. You're grieving the loss of the future you thought you had.
Yes.
The loss of the family you thought you had.
Yes.
You're gonna, and just like I talked about last week with special needs and all the things to grieve, you're gonna grieve your kids' weddings when you and your, so they get overwhelmed with that, and then the emotions go crazy. Okay. And so you need to make these grief piles when there's so many things to grieve.
Well, and I think another component to knitting your identity to grief is when, and this may go back to fun, right? it may be that potentially it sucks up all the oxygen of living your life.
Yeah.
So in other words, that's all you find yourself living for is your grief.
Yeah.
And so you deny yourself blessings. You deny yourself relationships. You deny yourself a future because, well, I've been hurt.
Yeah.
And boy, that's just, I mean, that is like this, I don't know. Yeah. It's maybe a fear of the unknown of blessings. Well, I know what grief is. I know what it is to hurt.
Yeah.
That I will park on instead of like letting go of that, because then how do I define myself?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So if you don't find yourself finding that, and again, because there's no, like, some people will be like, yeah, but it's only been a year. Is that too long? Is that not, you know?
Yeah,
and again,
that's kind of the wrong question.
Right. And so I think like if you're questioning, like, am I doing this right? Like, that's when I'd be like, go seek some help. Go talk to a therapist or a counselor about it. And you shouldn't have to grieve alone or walk through it alone.
So true.
Find someone else who's walked through it before that can walk through it with you, that can just kind of look from the outside in.
Yeah, because again, that when we as counselors hear a question like, well, it's been a year, am I, should I be over this? Well, it's like, there's a lot of information that we would need to hear
right
before we could answer that question, because it's not a timeline.
Right.
It's timeline. How do you handle this, and how do you work with that, and what do you have here built in your life, and where do you go with that? So yeah, huge component. So that's another interesting thing, is that grief has all these peripheral things that seemingly have nothing to do with the grief, but they have everything to do with the grief.
Yeah.
Like being able to have a meaningful life outside of some of the hardships and the tragedies that happen to you. We're living a fallen world. And so people pass away, there's accidents, there's job loss, there's cancer, all those things. How do you continue to like live a fulfilling life when all those are looming?
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge component.
I don't know why I just got this image in my head, because I feel like going through grief in a healthy way is like standing in the oceans and the waves crashing against you.
Okay.
Where sometimes you can stand there and the water's just at your feet and it doesn't feel so bad. And sometimes a wave comes and knocks you over.
Yes.
And the wave goes back and you're able to stand up.
Yeah.
An unhealthy
wave
way.
Doesn't care.
Right. An unhealthy way would be, I'm in the middle of the ocean drowning.
Good point.
And I think that because I remember when my dad passed away 12 years ago, and the holidays at year 4 felt horrific, like worse than the holidays year 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And my mom and my sister and I could not figure that out. Like what? Like why this year is it so heavy? And then we talked to other people about it who were like, yeah, that's how it was for us too.
Oh, interesting.
And it was because year 1 we did everything different. All the rituals were different. Year 2, no, we kind of maybe brought back a couple of things. Year 3, we did different traditions and some of the same. Year 4, it hit that this is how it is now.
Okay.
Yeah. And so again, like that year 4 was a wave of the grief pushing us over again.
Okay.
But we were able to stand back up and work through it.
So I would add to that 12 years ago, you had a lot of other stuff going on in your life too.
Yeah, I was grieving a lot 12 years ago.
And so that's part of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So when someone says it's been a year, well, it's like, let's kind of unpack what else is going on. And if, you sit down and talk to someone, they were like, oh,
it's only been a year. I'm shocked you're even standing where you're at right
take some more time, girl. So then you talk about little grief piles. I think that's absolutely right. And then earlier we were discussing, we broke our cardinal rule by talking about things off air, but small, medium, and large grief.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels heavy for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
So however you want to frame it, but small grief is, I don't know, small stuff that it's like, it still hits you.
Yeah.
And it actually has, small grief can have an impact if the like medium and large stuff hasn't been fully addressed.
For sure.
And if it hits you in a way disproportionately, like if what happened the other day? I wanted something. There's food involved. So I go in downtown Turlock. I go walk over to one of my favorite sandwich places, and they were closed.
Oh.
So if that then hits me and I'm like broken,
Yeah.
that's a comparatively small grief, like a disappointment, like, oh, bummer.
Yeah.
But if it hits me disproportionately, there's other stuff there. There's other reasons.
Right.
That's going to be bigger.
Right. And I think that's really good for people to notice too, right?
Yeah.
If you're overreacting to that sandwich shop being closed, if you're banging on the window, no, why
You can't do this to me.
Yeah, I would definitely stop and go, wait, what else is there?
Yes.
What else is there? I think the small, medium, large is so good. I think that hits me because I think that when you have so many medium and large things that you grieve, you forget about the small things.
Ah, okay.
And so they kind of go unnoticed.
Okay.
But they're still there.
Sure. So what would be a medium?
Gosh, that's the hard part because I think that it could be different for different people.
Fair enough. I mean, large is kind of big, like a
right.
loss
So I think like
of a person,
right.
Or maybe medium would be like a job loss or something.
But not even that, right? Because for some people, maybe losing my dad was large for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
But some people who are disconnected from their dad, like I never had a relationship with them.
Sure.
That might feel like a medium.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I know people too who have, lost a father that they weren't close to.
Yeah.
And it's grief in a different way because you're also grieving the fact that relationship was never.
Right. You're never going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he never made the effort to.
Yeah.
That was me. That was, when I found out my father had passed, it wasn't like it was the weirdest thing. It was almost like this, someone had called because they somehow got a hold of our number. Actually, they called my wife because my wife's phone number was our home number like 150 years ago. And so they called and said, hey, and she came to me and said, babe, this guy called and this, that, and the other thing. And apparently, they were trying to figure out like contacting family for your father because he had passed. And it was like, okay. I met the man a couple times. Once was on my wedding day. I never really totally had a relationship. I was not unwilling to have a relationship with him, but I guess neither of us made the effort. And I had a life to live. I had a rich life that I was doing other things, and so it wasn't like I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got for you to lose your father who was there, who was like this presence in your life is a lot different than someone who is not present, and then you find out, oh, well, now I'm not really going to have. I mean, but it was never a fantasy in my head that I was going to have a relationship with him.
But see, even in that, you could have small, medium, and large grief.
Totally.
All in that one situation.
Yeah, totally.
The small grief is my dad died and I didn't know this man, so I'm grieving this man I didn't know. The big grief could be like, I will never have this relationship that I've always wanted. I mean, grief is complex in fact. I mean, it's no joke.
There's a quote that was in The Chosen season 4.
I haven't seen it yet. Don't tell me.
Okay. Well,
you can tell me. You can tell me. It's fine.
There's a line. Jesus says there is no should in grief. This isn't in the Bible. This is in The Chosen, but I think it's a great line.
Well, I think it's deep.
Yeah,
because grief is different, and there's all kinds of different emotions that come up, and there's all different lengths of time that we spend grieving, right? And we feel like, am I grieving? Am I doing this right? Like, if I don't feel something, am I doing it right? If I feel something too much, am I doing it right? It's like, no, there's no specifically right way to do it. Maybe there can be unhealthy ways to do it, but
there can. But don't judge
it's different
someone
in
for
every
how they
situation.
grieve.
Yeah. I would say, well, here's the deal. It will, it has to have its time. It will take its toll, and to give it its due is vitally important. Otherwise, it'll come out in other ways, right? So. I've had people, clients I've had who have gone through like very difficult and sad situations, and they will try to distance themselves from it. And there's a pattern here, and the distancing comes very quickly. Oh, this happened, this and the end, but I'm okay now. And so then they go on to talk about something else. The times when I bring them back to that and I slow it down for them, wait a second, you're telling me that your father said he'd wish he'd never had you.
Right.
And then it just, and it's like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to have this. And we spend some time there and we get to, okay, this is what's happening. This is what I'm feeling. This is my experience. And then we say, okay, thank you. Thanks. Okay, Lord, thank you for having me experience that. And then you start to do other things. And if you need to do that, I don't know, every other week for a little bit.
Right. Then do that.
Not being ashamed or somehow shoulding yourself to where, oh my gosh, it's been 5 years. Well, listen, you can be 100 years, and if you've never spent that time, then it's still there potentially.
Right. And so I have two things really quick. So let's differentiate. So 12 years later, there's still days where I cry. I will sob because I lost my dad, because I'm like, I just wish I could talk to him. That's not because I haven't grieved.
Right.
That's just because I miss my dad. And that's still going to happen.
That is a very good point. Like grieving the loss versus, I still miss him. And you're allowed to miss him, and let's experience that missing.
And I can still cry. And then I feel like Christians don't give themselves permission to fully grieve.
Because?
Well, this was in God's will. It was God's plan. I should just be happy with that. I'll see him again in heaven. I don't need to be sad. I'm going to get to be with them for eternity.
Oh, yeah.
And so we squandered
So I don't mean to laugh at that.
No, I know, because it's true, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting here thinking of Jesus and Lazarus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What the heck did he do before he raised him from the dead?
Yeah. Jesus wept.
He wept.
Yeah.
He knew, I've got to feel this emotion. I got to grieve this.
So where the heck did it come out that, because I've heard this from my Catholic therapists, their clients will say this. I hear it from Protestants. I hear it from everybody. This notion, this weird theology that says God doesn't want me to be sad, or sadness is some sort of part of it, again, I mean, I kind of answer my own question here, but part of it is if I'm sad, then then I'm not being appreciative of all that God has given me. Right.
Yet Psalms 34:18 says, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted."
You don't say.
And saves the crushed in spirit. And in the Beatitudes, he says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted."
Yes. Yeah.
Literally over and over again, he's giving us permission to weep and mourn. And then of course he tells us in Revelations that he will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain.
Yeah. So, I heard a sermon that talked about it when it wiping every tear. And this Jim Applegate said this. He said, it's not just, hey, we'll make the tears go away. You ready for this?
Nope.
The symbolism there, or the language he uses, is that he will go into that grief and make it new. And not just take that tear away, but take it away from the deep inside.
And now we have to be done because we can't talk because I'm crying for the second time. Isn't that so beautiful?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just picture him, I guess this picture I envision for myself as I get to God, and he just wipes the tears from my face. And
so
you're good.
That wiping, I to clarify here, that wiping isn't about there, get yourself together.
Right.
That wiping is about redemption and having it all fit and understood in the meaning. It doesn't mean we don't need to grieve. We need to. If we don't, in fact, if we don't, then we're pretending we're pretending like it didn't happen.
Right.
And if we pretend like it didn't happen, like so many facets of our personhood, we need to be able to confess our whole selves, because in doing so, it's brought to the surface, where it can be redeemed. I am holy not because I pretend to be holy. I am holy because I recognize my desperate need for a savior, and I live in confession and honesty.
Yeah.
And part of that honesty is grieving.
Right.
So that it can be worked through.
Yep.
It's true.
Jeez, can we go back to the fun podcast?
What are you thinking of?
So
what brings up the emotion there, Caroline?
So heavy because I just stop.
I'm good at this.
No, take off my glasses. Because again, like I'm not saying this out of, I don't know, maybe there's some pride. I am too. I just feel like I am a grief professional. And so like just knowing that one day God is going to wipe away the tears and that there will be no more grieving is something my heart, my soul, my whole being looks forward to.
What does he give us to be able to work through the grieving?
Well, himself for one.
Okay, but practically, what does that look like? That's true.
Yeah.
But we can't just throw that concept out there like at a person.
Right. I don't know. I guess all I can think of is like what it's looked like for me with him walking alongside me through grief. And for me at times it's yelling at him and just being angry with him for what he's taken from me.
Okay.
Or I want to say what he's done to me, even though I know it's not what he's allowed happen.
Right. Sure.
To me in my life. And at times he has been the thing that I cling to that walks me through that stage of depression, of grief, that I've experienced so many times. I think in every stage he's been something different.
So, and I think absolutely, I think that's true. I think when I come to think of like, okay, what does he give? Because yes, there's parts of him that I will have to turn to and rely on. Mm-hmm. There's also gifts that he's given me and blessings in my life to turn to help cope with grief.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so part of what I can do is I can move, right? I can get up and I can say, here's my time of grieving, and now I can get up and live a life rich in blessing that he provides for me. And so I am not relegated to constant grief.
Right.
I am also taking part in celebration, which is very much a component of his word.
Yeah.
Right. And so I celebrate, yes, I lost my mother. I've had children with addiction. I've had cancer, I've had all these things, and yet we say, but I also have this, and I have this, and I have this, and I have this, and you continue to shower your love upon me and help me to experience that too.
And this is where that would go back to, right? Because when you grieve, you've been through a trial.
Yes.
There's been some kind of tribulation, and where that trials produce character, which produce perseverance, which produce hope. And so every time you walk through grief, you are learning, gaining, experiencing that hope. Even for me, I feel like it's been bigger every time, where I can say I do my hope is in Christ and, not in these things that I've lost or that I'll never have.
Yeah. And he's given you golf to experience Christ.
Oh my gosh. Fully experience him. And so I think there was something else to say, but I lost it. Because now I'm thinking of golf though. But so grief is an ugly, beautiful thing.
Isn't that something? And you're right. It's these two very seemingly different ideas, ugly and beautiful, that take up the same space. Again, if we didn't grieve, there would be something else horribly wrong with us.
Right.
And so embracing that part of ourselves and, like I say so many times, becoming friends with it and saying, in a way, this sounds weird, but Lord, thank you that I can grieve.
Right. Right. And
this
I feel
is a whole part of me.
Yeah.
And I like that I'm sensitive. I like that I have tears and I get emotional and all this other stuff. I don't want that to be any other way.
Yeah. And that is what I would hope that people, I don't know, listening through this or going through, like that they don't, grief is not something to fear or avoid.
Right.
It is something, again, to dive into.
Yeah.
And that it truly is. Like when I have something that, again, like I said, you walk around a corner and it just smacks you in the face sometimes.
Yeah.
And when that smacks me in the face, it doesn't knock me on my butt like it used to.
Right.
You know, it's like, I know this. This has become a friend.
Yes.
This has become something that I know, and I don't fear it. And let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, because I know what comes on the other side. I know once I get to acceptance, I know all the richness and the glory of God and all of that that's in there.
You know, another component of that is, you know, when something that is heartbreaking happens, in the immediacy of it, it takes up all the real estate.
Oh, yeah.
All the headspace, everything else.
Yeah.
And in a way it needs to. It's huge, right? It's a part of us that has been ripped from us, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I call that the initial blow to the face, right? You know, punch to the face and you're knocked on your butt.
Yeah.
Then over time, it's not like you completely get rid of that and it goes away, but it becomes a part of you, but not the central part of you. So loss, grief, we live in a world of gains and losses throughout the years or whatever. And so to be able to accept the part that it's playing in your life and say, okay, there you are. Now you're part of me. I carry you with me. Grief over this thing. But I also have all these other things that are now coming more into focus as the time goes by, and I'm learning how to come to terms with this. So I guess I reiterate that because don't be afraid of the initial blow and the staggering, you know, oh gosh, getting your moorings and all this other stuff.
Right.
And recognize that oftentimes over time, as you face it, as you process it and not run away, that then it becomes like manageable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
From unmanageable to manageable.
Yep.
So.
Yeah,
it's true.
Okay, can we be done now?
5 more questions. Yes, we can be done now, Caroline.
We were going to go into like discussing all the stages of grief. Google it. Like,
yes,
you could Google the stages of grief, and it'll, if you're like wondering,
Mary Kubler-Ross.
Mary Kubler-Ross. There you go.
Yeah.
If you send me a link, I'll put it in the show notes. If not,
I send you a link,
yeah. Oh, I guess I could Google it myself.
I don't know where to find it.
Yeah. So, because I know a lot of times people will be like, I don't know what stage I'm in, and I'll just be like, go Google the 5 stages and read it. And you know, I can't tell you what stage you're in. You need to look at it. So we won't go into those. I think we had enough on grief.
Got it.
I think I'm sad enough. No.
Fair enough.
It's all good.
Fair enough. If this has been helpful to you, by all means, leave a favorable review and share with a friend. Or 10, 20, 80.
30. Oh, wait.
You
threw me off.
Can't go
100,
down.
100.
Provided you have that many friends. And
if you don't, that's okay.
Absolutely.
I don't have that many.
Also, check out, there's another podcast that we've been invited to.
Yes, and we will, when we are on it, because I don't know if it will air before this one airs, we'll let you know.
Okay.
But if you have a podcast and you want us to come on it, we love to share ourselves, our humor. I don't know.
Whatever.
If you have an event and you need someone to come talk at it and you're brave enough, we'll come do that too.
Absolutely.
Obviously,
I
we
laugh,
like to talk.
but I mean it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today as we continue our journey talking about life's many questions.
To stay connected with us, you can follow us at Downey Park Counseling on both Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow Caroline on Instagram at Relatable Caroline. And make sure you tune in next week for our next